Hello, friend. You're on the American Stories channel. Here, real-life love stories come alive, amazing, touching, and sincere. Every story is a journey into a world of love, hope, and self-discovery. Dive into our tales, and maybe you'll find a piece of your own life in them. If you enjoy our stories, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Your support inspires us to share even more amazing stories. When Megan opened her eyes, the California sun was already painting the ocean outside her window. The scent of coffee and salt hung in the air, and her wedding dress, bright white and ghostly, waited on the closet door like a reminder of a decision she wasn't sure she wanted to make. She was 29. Everyone said she was ready, steady job at a law firm, a fiancé who adored her, a dream wedding organized by her parents. But every morning, waking up, she felt like she was trying on someone else's life. Ben was kind. He brought her coffee in bed, adored his job and insurance, laughed at her jokes. Her parents thought he was perfect. But deep down, she didn't feel that spark. Not the kind you're supposed to feel when you commit to forever. She sat on the floor wrapped in a blanket, scrolling through her phone. Her friends were texting, "You ready? Time to shine, Mrs. Grayson." But all she could think was, am I really ready to live someone else's life? A car passed outside playing an old rock ballad, one she used to dance to in high school. The memory hit her like lightning, late-night drives, wild dreams, wind in her hair. Where did that girl go? She stood up and looked in the mirror. Her eyes were full of anxiety, but also something new, resolve. For the first time in years, she listened not to her mother or Ben or expectations, but to the voice inside her. 10 minutes later, she was pulling jeans under her dress. She left the heels behind, grabbed her neighbor's old bicycle, and whispered, "I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry, Ben." She sped down the street. The dress flared in the wind, tangling in the wheels. People stared. Someone clapped. Someone filmed. Her heart pounded, but for once, it wasn't fear, it was freedom. At the corner, she saw old Mrs. Susan, the quirky neighbor in the pink hat. "You go, girl," the old woman called out. "I ran from mine too. Never regretted it." Megan laughed through her tears. Those words were all the blessing she needed. Street after street, turn after turn, she left behind the guests, the roses, the monogrammed cookies. Everything that felt so important an hour ago now felt like part of a dream. She paused near a roadside ice cream van, bought a strawberry cone. The man behind the counter said, "Celebrating something?" She smiled. "Yeah. Myself." She had no map, no plan. Just some cash in her pocket, a dead phone, and eyes that finally saw the road ahead. Megan rode without a plan. Her only direction was, away from the church. She pedaled the old bicycle, wearing jeans under her wedding dress. The morning sun was climbing higher, the heat biting into her skin, and the wheels creaked at every turn. At an intersection, she stopped, her legs aching, heart racing, but inside, there was a strange peace. A calm, like after a storm. She checked her phone. The map showed a gas station nearby. She turned toward it, hoping to find coffee or water. Inside the station's shop, there were bacon pastries, chips, and bad coffee. In front of her stood a man in a camouflage shirt and cowboy hat. He gave her a side glance, noticing the dress, messy hair, and sneakers. "Either it's a new trend, or you just ran from a wedding," he said with a smirk. "A little of both," Megan shrugged. She grabbed a coffee, added milk and honey, her comfort mix. The taste was bitter, but it warmed her more than any hug. Outside, she sat on a bench, sipping slowly, watching the empty road. People passed, staring, but she didn't care. Not anymore. She was alive. Returning? No. She imagined her mother clutching a phone, Ben trying to stay composed, guests whispering. The thought was sad, but freeing. For the first time in years, she'd chosen herself. Just then, an old blue car pulled up. Out stepped a girl with bright pink hair, sunglasses, and a huge backpack. "You know where I can grab a bite around here?" she asked. "There's a vending machine inside." "I wouldn't risk it," Megan smiled. "What about you?" "Don't tell me, runaway bride." "Okay. I won't tell you." "But yes." The girl grinned. "Name's Lexi. I'm heading north, San Francisco. Need a ride?" Megan hesitated. Hitching a ride with a stranger? Everything in her upbringing screamed, no, but wasn't this what she left for? "I'm Megan. And yes. I think I do." In the car, indie rock played, vinyls littered the back seat, and under Megan's feet was a hand-drawn map, UFO diner, worst wax museum, 7 a.m. rooftop dancing. "I have a rule," Lexi said, chewing gum. "Never ask why. Just go. The why comes later." Megan laughed. Her heart was still aching, but now, it was also open. San Francisco greeted them with golden fog and cold wind. Lexi's car weaved through steep streets. Megan held her hair with one hand and the door with the other, laughing like she hadn't in years. Every mile peeled her further from the life she left behind. First stop, the weirdest hostel in California, Lexi announced, pulling into an alley. The building was splashed with graffiti, a teddy bear sat on a windowsill, and a wind chime played something eerie. Inside, they were greeted by Daisy, a barefoot older woman in a tie-dye robe. "People come here to disappear. But some stay to be found," she said mysteriously. That night on the rooftop, there was wine, guitars, and stories. Megan sat in an old chair, sipping wine from a chipped mug, watching strangers sing songs about heartbreak and hope. For once, she wasn't expected to be anyone. She could just be. The next morning, Megan woke to silence. Lexi was gone, a note on the pillow read, "You're stronger than you think. Find your own road. P.S. You're awesome." Sad. Yes. But also, right. Wandering the streets, Megan saw a cafe named The Drift. It smelled like cinnamon and risk. She stepped in, ordered a latte, and asked, "You hiring?" The barista, wearing a unicorn sweater, smiled. "Ask the manager." "Oh wait, that's me." And just like that, Megan had a job. At first, she spilled milk, forgot names. But May, the owner, taught her patiently. "Here, you don't just make coffee. You listen." Megan met regulars, the girl with the red hair and sketchbook, the old man reading Dostoevsky. She found comfort in their stories, and in her own silence. When days got hard, she'd make herself a coffee and sit by the window. For the first time, she let herself create, writing thoughts, memories, half-poems. San Francisco wasn't just about bridges. It was about rediscovery, and letting a strange city become home. Weeks passed. Megan had settled into a rhythm, waking up in the hostel, brewing coffee, wiping tables, smiling at strangers who were slowly becoming familiar. She didn't answer calls. Not because she was afraid, but because she wasn't ready. The phone stayed quiet. And that was comforting. Until one evening. A message popped up on her screen. Just 3 words. "Are you alive?" From Ben. Short. No accusation. No questions. Just a fact. She froze. Then typed back. "Yes. I'm sorry. But I couldn't do it." He replied the next morning. "I felt it too. I hoped it would pass. But now I see, you had the courage I didn't." They kept writing. Calmly. No fights. Megan thanked him for understanding. For not turning their story into a tragedy. He said he had wanted to scream at first, but then he remembered how distant she'd always looked over breakfast, like her mind was elsewhere. She cried reading that. Not tears of regret, but of gratitude. For the first time, she felt she could forgive herself. Forgive herself for not living up to expectations. For choosing freedom. A few more quiet messages. And then silence. No grand goodbyes. Just peace. Life moved on. Every morning she brewed coffee for college students. At lunch, she scribbled poems on napkins. In the evenings, she walked San Francisco's hills with the calm of someone who had let go of the past. Once, she saw a postcard in a bookshop window. The bravest decisions are always the most painful. She bought it. Wrote her name on the back. And kept it in her bag, as a reminder. Sunday morning. Megan unlocked the coffee shop early. She loved this hour, before the crowd, before the chatter. Just cinnamon rolls in the oven and slow jazz on the speakers. She poured herself an Americano when she saw them through the window. Her parents. Her mother wore her favorite beige coat. Her father had his hands in his pockets, stiff and uncertain. They stepped inside like strangers. Megan's stomach flipped. They sat at a corner table. She approached them with a tray. Coffee? She asked, voice calm but shaking. Latte. Like always, her mom nodded. She made the drink slowly, precisely. Her hands trembled just a little. Then she sat down with them. Her father stayed silent. Her mother stared at her, long and deep. I'm still mad, she said. Not because you canceled the wedding. Because you didn't talk to us. We're not your enemies. I was afraid you wouldn't understand, Megan whispered. Maybe not at first. But I'm your mother. I always felt something was off. They sat in silence. Then her father said. I don't like how you left. But now. I see your eyes. They're different. It hit her like a wave. She couldn't hold back tears. They hugged, not like in movies. No dramatic music. Just three people trying to be family again. Before they left, her mother handed her an envelope. Inside was a photo, young Megan, messy knees, a tennis racket in hand, wide smile. I always loved this version of you, she said. Megan stayed behind, holding the photo, tears falling freely. She hadn't lost her parents. She had found herself, and invited them to meet her again. Life in San Francisco had settled into a rhythm. Megan brewed coffee in the mornings, wandered the city by day, wrote in her notebook by night. Her hair had lightened from the sun, her eyes had deepened from everything she had seen. She wasn't chasing adventure, it was finding her. One afternoon, returning from work, she found a postcard in her hostel mailbox. No return address. No name. The image showed a winding road disappearing into the mountains. On the back, only one line. Sometimes, to find yourself, you have to run. I know. X. Who was X? Lexi. The man at the gas station. A prank from someone at the hostel. She didn't know, but something in that message struck her deeply. She placed the card on her shelf, a quiet symbol that she wasn't alone on this journey. That same evening, a new customer came to the cafe. A man in his 40s with a camera slung over his shoulder and quiet eyes. He ordered an espresso and sat near the window, jotting notes in a small black notebook. Megan couldn't help herself. Are you a writer? She asked. Photographer, he said. But sometimes stories matter more than pictures. His name was David. They began talking. He traveled for years, capturing people during moments of change, births, protests, weddings, even escapes. Escapes? She asked, raising an eyebrow. He sipped his coffee. People run. From cities. From pasts. From themselves. Those are the stories I like most. From then on, David came in often. They talked about books, childhood, fear, meaning. He never pressed about her past, but he listened like someone who already knew. Eventually, he asked her to collaborate on a photo series called The Art of Running. She agreed. Together they gathered stories: a woman who fled corporate burnout to live in a van, a man who left an arranged marriage, a teenager who ran away to pursue ballet. And Megan's photo was among them. David captured her standing barefoot on the cafe rooftop, wearing the very wedding dress she had escaped in. Wind pulling at the hem, her eyes clear. Powerfully calm. "That's how I see you," David told her. "Unapologetically yourself." It wasn't romantic. It was real. Someone seeing her, and accepting her, without needing to define it. That night, Megan wrote one sentence in her notebook. "I didn't run away. I ran toward." And it felt like the truth. 6 months had passed. San Francisco no longer felt new, it had become her home. The coffee shop, the hostel rooftop, noisy evenings with David, and quiet walks by the ocean, all this had become her everyday life. But the thought of returning never quite left her. Not as a burden, more like an unfinished sentence. She bought a bus ticket. No plan. Just for the weekend. She left the hostel with a short note: "Back Monday." Probably. David gave her a photo, her in white, with the bridge behind her, captioned, "Walk your own path." Megan arrived in her hometown in the morning. The bus was nearly empty. She stepped off at a familiar stop and immediately felt the childhood smells wrap around her. Sea breeze. Pine. A touch of melancholy. She walked down the same street she had once raced along on her bike the day she ran away. The houses were the same. But something in them had changed. Or maybe it was her who had changed. She stepped into the small coffee shop near the church. Behind the counter stood her former classmate Zach, who used to tease her about her braces in school. "You, Megan?" he asked, surprised. "You look like someone from a movie." "Thanks. And you're not as annoying as in 10th grade." They laughed. Megan ordered tea and sat by the window, watching people go into the church. Some of them probably remembered the day the wedding didn't happen. On her way out, she nearly bumped into Ben. He was walking with a woman holding his hand. They stopped. Ben smiled first. "Megan. Hey. Hey. Been a while." The woman politely stepped aside. Megan and Ben stood in silence for a few seconds. "I got married," he said. "No drama." "I'm glad. Is she good to you?" "Very. And you?" "I'm happy. You know. I don't regret anything." He nodded. Then everything happened the way it should. They hugged. Briefly. No tension. It wasn't about love anymore. It was about respect, and closure. Megan walked to the shore. Sat on a bench facing the ocean. Took out her notebook. Started writing a letter. But not to someone. To herself. "Dear Megan. You're not running anymore. You're walking. In your own direction. And that's the most important thing that's ever happened to you." She set down the pen. Took out the photo David had given her. Looked at it for a long time. Then she stood up, took a deep breath, and walked back. But not back to the past. Back into the new, strong, clear life she had built for herself.